This is by far the best webtoons that I've read. End a sentence. And its name is Omniscient Reader. I'm not gonna spoil shit, okay? In this specific case, I think it's a cardinal sin if I spoil this story. Like, it's that good. Like, I highly recommend you read it because it's all free, so go and enjoy. It's by far the best I've read, which isn't that big of an accomplishment because I've not really read that many, but it literally grasped me by the balls in the entire run, all of it. I could not put it down. Like, it's that good. Basically, its plot is you got our main character, Dr. Kim, and his name literally means reader and a few other things which is relevant to the story, like the layers of subtext. God, I love this story. And so our main character, he has spent most of his life reading this book called 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, or TWAS for short. And as soon as he finishes the story, well, the apocalypse hits him. And that's not even the first chapter, that's the prologue. And he knows what's gonna happen in the future in theory, but, well, that entire idea just kind of falls apart because he wasn't in the original story, so him being in the new story changes stuff. And obviously, since he wasn't in the original story, he wasn't the main character. No, our main character of the story inside a story made up of stories is Yoon Juk Yu. I think I'm pronouncing his name right, but I think this is how you pronounce the names. And from there, well, the story continues. You may think, well, this reminds me of Solo Leveling. It's not that, I assure you. It's much better than that. Solo Leveling, it got its points, but you gotta admit that it doesn't have a good story. Like, seriously, it has pretty bad character writing, pretty bad story. Got cool factor, yeah, I get it. I refuse to say the word, okay? I refuse. That's fact. It got good action, that's fact, but that's not this story. It got both cool factor and, good action mixed with an actually good story. It's great. Like, that's why I said it's the best webtoons out there, as far as I know. And so, to me, basically, it's a story within a story which is filled with stories. It's storyception. And the two really good arcs are the Fifth Catastrophe arc and the Dark Castle arc. I would rank Fifth Catastrophe top, Dark Castle second, and a few others just below it. Its authors have made another story that I have not read, but I probably will. So, at the first couple of, arcs, I didn't know squat about this webtoons. Like, I didn't know shit. And that's how you should read it. Like, without learning anything at all, just start. And that's even the fact that I said that the main character is different, that kind of stuff is kind of a spoiler. But nonetheless, even with these minor spoilers, I recommend you just go in blind without any sort of research, because I assure you got my guarantee that this is the good shit. I assure you about that. But that's how I experienced it. So when I was, reading it, most of the jokes just read to me as a character read of the writer, like their interests. When I was reading the first 50 or so episodes, that was what was going through my head. But after the Fifth Catastrophe arc or so, I was like, nah, this is basically a commentary on stories in general and their creation process and the viewers or the reader's experience on the story and all of that stuff. It was a commentary on that. And that was at the moment when I realized, god damn, this is good shit, huh? Like, I already knew because I literally couldn't put this shit down. But it was cemented in my brain right then and there. Like no matter how many hours I spent reading this, which honestly wasn't that many, because again I just binge read them. That's time well spent, because this shit, it slapped. Just full stop. It slapped. And obviously, just to mention a few good points in its favor, the character writing basically never misses. Like every character, to an extent, feels like an actual person. When you're talking about webtoons, you would be surprised, because webtoons, if you don't know, is just open to everyone to make any story, talk about anything, just do stuff. So it's kind of hard to find genuinely very high quality stories, or either that, or I'm just not looking. Like, and another thing is the art, it's literally almost always at point. And another thing that I really liked about this series, it has, I guess, a cute-ish tradition where the artists, every so often, like when the 100th chapter came out, the 300th chapter, the 200, and Christmas and a few other holidays in between, make full sketches about characters. And in the latest one of these, every artist that worked on this made an entire piece, and I really find that a bit cute. That's kind of the stuff that gives this series a bit of a soul, unlike lookism, which isn't like, when I was yapping about it when the way back when, a couple days ago, I didn't read a lot back then. Like I hadn't read a whole lot of webtoons, so now that's just my baseline. Now I'm gonna compare basically everything to that. And this is orders of magnitude better. Like instantly. Pretty fast paced. All of it is pretty well thought out. Character slap. The first couple of chapters are a bit slow, but those are important chapters because they're literally the bedrock of greatness. So even though they're a bit slow, they are important, and that's what makes the later episodes slap even harder. And it has a very interesting method in which the story is told, where it builds up to a crescendo, and then we have our emotional release, and then we slowly come down and build up and slowly come down, repeat. And another thing that I like very much is there's a running joke basically from the beginning of the story that our main character, he looks ugly. And I have to say, if this guy looks ugly, we got no chance. Like, all of us are cooked. Like, it's the end for us. But besides the point. And the characters say that he looks a bit blurry, and after stuff happens, one character tries to remember his face and it's gone. And this is because of his ability. It's his ability that's separating him from this story, because this apocalypse that's happening around him, our guy doctor, he sees all of it as just that, a story. It has a level of disconnect that he feels, which every so often that level of disconnect is reduced. His ability, it itself has its own personality, and it itself has its own lores. And I've not even talked about the constellations. Basically, they're the people watching everything, paying for it, betting, doing that. Basically gods playing with the little folks down under. But yeah, all of this to say that this series is pretty much goated. Like, for the most part, all of the series that I've talked about, I've thoroughly spoiled going through their entire everything. But this series is completely different. Like, I would highly recommend you take out the time and actually read this. It's great. You will not regret it, no matter how long it takes. I assure you, it ain't gonna take you that. It's a real page turner. You literally are gonna finish it like this, and then gonna wait because it's currently on hiatus, which is a bit sad. But yeah, that's about it. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. And another thing that I have to clear up right here, the manga scores, they're different, okay? They're on a different board. This is not comparing against them. Webtoons are on their separate board. Webtoon compared to webtoon. That's how I'm gonna score these. So this is, I want to give myself room to go above it. So let's put Lookism, which I've reviewed, at a solid 4 out of 10, and this 8.5 out of 10, because I want to give myself some room to go above it. I don't think I will find any story better than this, for the record, but here's hoping that I find something that's actually more goated. There's something that can even compare to this. You could dream. Yeah, that's about it. Just wanted to shoot the shit.